will do it if they know that consumers care. They'll do it because you are who we make products for. And ultimately, we want to sell products. We want to sell sustainable products, but we want to sell products. So when customers tell us they care about it and they favor products from our company versus a competitor's, we will do it, we will do more of it, and we will do it the way you want us to do it. But I think the challenge is we don't hear much back from our customer base. And I think the challenge is because it's very hard. If one of our sales guys is talking to a local business here in Austin about specifying our product, there's 5 other carpet salesmen behind him that also have a green story. And the challenge is the purchasers either don't want to take the time or it's too confusing and they want something simple. So as a consumer, I think you got to do the work. And we just need to know that customers care about it. Now, our company's on a mission and we're going to continue to do what we do. But it would be great if the other companies of our industry, the other companies in the world, got on board, and the only way they're going to do that is because their customers want it.
Interface. So Phil Rivet Software, your platforms report data on the XBRL standard, the financial data. It's a mandated standard by the Securities and Exchange Commission. In your opinion, what's that next great standard out there that's going to drive sustainability reporting as well as financial reporting? Is there a next great standard, or what's the next great hope?
I'll give you 2 answers. So first of all, I'm intrigued by what the IRC is doing. That's the International Integrated Reporting Committee. They're putting together a holistic reporting framework that is integrated across financial and non-financial data. They're raising awareness internationally, and they're working with the various regulatory bodies internationally to adopt this standard. I feel like I'm flogging a dead horse on the mandate regulatory piece.
Cast your vote.
Yes, I think I have quite strongly. So that was my second answer. It's the next great standard will be the first one that gets mandated.
there you go. So pick one, lawmakers, for gosh sakes. Let's go back to Aaron Muzet of Interface. One of the weirdest twists of the recent recession was that many of the Global 1000 companies reported that during the downturn, they increased the pace and scope of their sustainability initiatives and investment, not for environmental reasons, but to save cash. Now, can you tell us how your sustainable business initiatives fared during the downturn?
Yeah, the news is that we didn't decrease any of our initiatives, and what was really great was that we saw a great window of opportunity to work in a different way with our suppliers for the very first time. So having been at it about 14 plus years, we've done a lot at Interface within the walls of our company in terms of efficiency and waste and everything else. Now the real challenge is working with our suppliers. When you look at sort of the footprint of our products, we're about 8%. Everything else is our supply chain, and the vast majority is the raw materials that we extract to make them. So when everything turned down, we saw this great window of opportunity to work with our suppliers on moving the needle on things like post-consumer recycled content, making investments in new technology to process those kinds of fibers and get them to us, largely because some of the clutter had been cleared away of the regular day-to-day stuff. So we saw this great opportunity to have a breath and work with our suppliers about, now that we've got some downtime, how do we sort of refocus so that we can come out of the ditch much better positioned than we were before. So it was a great moment where we could get some new and full and innovative time with our suppliers to really think about what's the next step.
Indeed. So we're going to go, before we go to any of your questions, we'll have a couple of minutes at the end, but we're going to go to the final question of our panel tonight. And I'd like each of you panelists to think hard and state what, in your opinion, is the ultimate sustainability or responsibility metric or measurable goal. Now, let me give you an example. Using recently retired Apple CEO Steve Jobs, who Greg trashed earlier. Nearly all large companies now report their Scope 1 or direct carbon emissions and Scope 2 or indirect carbon emissions. In late 2010, Steve Jobs announced that Apple's sustainability will be judged by what he called the ultimate metric, or Scope 3 carbon emissions, or what your products generate in terms of carbon footprint when your customers are using them, when they're outside of your control, scope 3. So let's start with you, Aaron Mizan from Interface. What's your ultimate sustainability or responsibility metric?
Let me just comment on that. It just goes to show that Apple doesn't get it. Because if you look at the life cycle of the devices that they make, I would argue that the tiniest impact is going to be what happens when people are using it. So I would say it's definitely not that metric. I think where we've settled is it's some combination of this. We want companies to be able to disclose what they're doing to reduce their footprint, how closed loop their products are, and how engaged their people are. We call it Mission Zero. Let's make it something simpler. Let's regulate it. Let's make it a mandate. But it's a combination of those three things.
Great, Janisek. Your most important metric?
I don't know that I can answer that. I think at the end of the day, again, companies will make things that you guys buy. You guys are buying things that are, like Toyota did great with Prius, right? They came out with a car, a little more expensive, but cut on fuel. There was some payback there, and you guys bought it. That was fantastic. I think companies are becoming more and more innovative. And the good news is, with this whole cloud computing or whatever it is model, more companies can start up being very nimble, who are doing things in the right way, very effectively, delivering good product, that can compete with the old guys, been there doing it a long time, and are burning through their carbon footprint much faster than they should. So that startup of new companies is driving the older companies to be more efficient and do things better. I think, again, you as consumers can have an impact on that. Once you buy from them, once you buy them.
Anthony Hull, what's that ultimate metric?
I leave that generally to the scientists, so this is my just personal opinion, the least informed. It is the current standard to produce this product or service is X. It is this much environmental harm. We have come up with a new way, so it is less than X. It's the differential between the current standard and the new process or product, in my heart.
There you go. Philip Witcherberg, Rivet Software, you're the last word. What's the ultimate metric?
Well, for me, it's measurement of our progress towards meeting our overall sustainability goals. So that metric that defines how we are progressing as a society to meet our sustainability goals from a holistic standpoint, and making sure that we are A, measuring it, and B, reporting on it, so there is awareness of the progress that's being made and that we have a goal to drive towards.
There we go. Do we have any questions in the audience? Go ahead, step up the mic, sir. Name an organization.
Chris, and I work for a software company called Actuate. Actually, it's relevant to my question. Part of the tools we deliver are for performance management and scorecards, and that's one of the things that brought me here. I see one of the big driver in that space is things like the Battle Scorecard, which you've probably heard of.
And bottom line.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Unfortunately, the balanced scorecard doesn't necessarily include sustainability. It should if you're doing it properly. But my question to you guys is really, do you think that business frameworks and methodologies like that, as opposed to mandated standards, because it's not a mandated standard, will help push sort of the corporate world forward in the world of sustainability? And that means inserting that into business schools and sort of bottom up. And then the reason that that's successful is to the point you made earlier, which is that the key driver is profitability. So people that are organizations that take on things like the balanced scorecard or do true performance management more than just looking at their financial information, do it because it's more profitable. And that's so it's sort of a vague question, but do you think that pushing sustainability through those types of channels will be effective, or is actually moving forward? I don't really see it that much myself.
Will the environmental, social, financial way being taught in business schools, will that drive any performance differences in the future? Anybody want to take that one?
I mean, I think it works. The challenge is it takes a long time. And I think there's a magic process you need. So when I think about standards that have moved things forward in that way, I think about the LEED standards from the U.S. Green Building Council, and I think about the impact that had on my industry in the sense of driving companies to produce products and services that are going to meet that criteria. And it drove them to produce more sustainable products because they met that standard. And what was great about that is there were a ton of consumers who were involved in building that standard. It was multi-stakeholder. It was not not sort of industry specific. On the flip side, we have an industry specific